All right, good morning, everybody. Please stand and we'll sing Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Lord, hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. I just remembered that it's the first Sunday of the month, and I wanted to be sure and put out our wax candle that was gifted to us by our partner church in Felșaracos, Romania. They have a candle like this. It has the name of Spokane on one side and the Felșaracos name on the other side. And they light one like this every Sunday in honor of our very long relationship. And so they sent this candle to us, and we thought we'd light it at the start of each service. And I think it's very significant, given the emphasis of today's service, that we remember our connections to everyone around the world, to all beings on the planet. So I'm going to light that real quickly. All right, so now again, formally welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, work for justice, and live justly. I'm just going to add that in. I personally, the way I read it, I don't know why you would work for justice if you don't live justly, but I know a lot of people who work for justice that aren't living justly. So I think it's important to remind ourselves to do both. It's also important to welcome each and every one of you to this space, as we do each at the start of our services each Sunday morning, by embracing all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are. And this, as always, includes those of you in the few of you who are in the room with us during our early service. I always appreciate that. It's a more contemplative service, I think, for that reason than the second service is, but also knowing that we actually have an awful lot of folks live streaming with us this morning as well. So we're glad to have all of you wherever you're at. Those who may be joining us for the first time, whether in the building or on the live stream, we're also glad to have all of you. I do have a couple of announcements I want to make this morning. One, I told you, I think a couple weeks ago, we started letting you know that the Spokane Alliance recently held a press conference in front of City Hall to support a new community workforce agreement that will ensure public funds are invested in Spokane projects that will create quality jobs and support underrepresented communities and invest in local workers. Now, last time I mentioned this, that had been moved from whatever earlier date it was supposed to be at the City Council to August 18th. Now it has been moved to the 25th, to their meeting on the 25th. So please put that on your calendar if you can be there. It's important to have a good showing at this particular meeting. I don't know if there are T-shirts left. Is that still? There are still T-shirts left. So it'd be nice if those of us from the church who show up have a T-shirt in common to show our solidarity, and those are on sale at the social justice table in the back of the room if you're interested in that. And if you have questions, you can contact Karen Dorn-Steele or Barb Stubing. Karen's not here this morning, but somebody will be back there to help you with that. So, okay. Also, if you, like me, missed your opportunity to hear Jackie Sandberg and Madeline McNeil, the Jaxie duo, as they are now calling themselves, perform earlier this week, all is not lost. You have two chances coming up this weekend. The first will be at the Mole Mexican Restaurant in Kendall Yards this Friday, August 8th at 6:30. So Friday at 6:30, Kendall Yards, Mole Mexican Restaurant. And then the following night at Hello Sugar, also in Kendall Yards, Saturday the 9th from 5 to 6:30. So you get to enjoy some mole and some sugar, as well as great music. Good. All right. Let's see. It's time for our doggy truths. For those who are visiting with us, we like to do a dog truth. Or for those of us who are dog lovers, we assume that everyone at the first service is a dog lover, and everyone at the second service is a cat lover. So we do the dog stuff here. That's not true. I love cats too, but Peggy's allergic to cats. So when we first met and started dating, I had to find another home for my kitten. And I still miss the way that cat would jump on my face in the morning to wake me up. But anyway, Peggy was worth it. So we can't have cats, and we have dogs, and I love dogs, especially my dogs. So people have been sending me a lot of dog truths. I can't remember who sent me this latest list, but it includes letters to God written by dogs. Prayers to God written by dogs. So I'll read the first two. Dear God, how come people love to smell flowers but seldom smell one another? Where are their priorities? Dear God, when we get to heaven, can we sit on your couch, or is it the same old story? All right. Let's take a few moments, as usual, to greet one another this morning, wherever you're at. All right, that is just a teaser. There's more time to visit with one another during our social period following the service. For those who are visiting with us, we have coffee and tea behind that wall there, so it's no mystery. That's just where the kitchen is. So please feel free to help yourself after the service. But we're going to move forward now, as always, by lighting our chalice, which is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening words this morning are from Susie Kasim. Make your book of life a musical. Never abandon obligations, but have fun leaving behind a colorful legacy. Take control of your life and never allow limitations implanted by society to tell you how your music is supposed to sound or how your book is supposed to be written.
Okay, if you could please stand up and sing with us. There is more love somewhere. And it's 95.
Thank you. We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds, as we do each Sunday. And as we have been doing each Sunday for far too long, we begin with a candle on behalf of the people of Ukraine, people of Russia, and that region of the world being impacted by the brutality and war there. And of course, the people of the Palestinian people. I always want to say the people of Palestine, but unfortunately, they don't have their own nation yet. So the Palestinian people, the people of Israel, people of Iran, people of Syria, and all those being increasingly swept up into the terrible violence in that region of the world. And also a candle on behalf of The many immigrants in our country, and even those who look like immigrants, may look like immigrants, at least to some, who fear going out into the world at this time. So we have a lot of concerns on our hearts as usual, and we're going to take our usual moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of. So in addition to these, you can name those aloud if you wish. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world. Jackie, we're only halfway through the service. Have you ever heard of saving the best for last? Wonderful, thank you. As always. Okay, it is time for our story for all ages. We don't always or usually have children in our early service, but we like to have our story anyway, right? Okay, so as usual, I think there's somebody who's come to help me out. Oh my goodness, what a surprise. It's Bigfoot. You're surprised. Imagine how I feel. Oh, so you didn't intend to be here this morning? No way, Nan. Us Bigfoots like to stay out of sight. Well, yeah, then you know, how did you get here? What brought you here? The hokey tokey. The hokey pokey. Yeah, I put my right foot in, and I took my right foot out. Uh-huh. Then I took my left foot in, and I took my left foot out. Yeah. And did you shake it all about? Yeah, and that's how I got myself turned around. Oh, I see. Well, I'm sorry that you've gotten lost. Lost? Huh? Bigfoots can't get lost, Nan. We're always at home, wherever we end up. Well, that's a nice way to look at it. You mean you don't have a place that you actually call your home? Sure I do. Earth. Nice, Earth. That's right, Earth is my home, isn't it yours? Well, if you put it that way, I guess it is, but I'm considered an American who lives here in Spokane, Washington. I can't understand a word you're saying, Nan. The earth is our only home, and all living creatures, the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and all the animals everywhere are part of a single family, a family of earthlings. Well, that's a beautiful way to look at it, Bigfoot. Sometimes I think we humans forget that we're all part of one world and that it's our responsibility to care for the earth and other creatures. Yeah, I get it, Nan. Even someone with feet as big as mine can get turned around now and then. But we'll never lose our way, so long as we remember we're all part of a single family and share the same home. Well, thanks for the reminder, Bigfoot. Even though you got turned around this morning, I think you ended up right where you belong. Thanks, Nan, but I need to get going. Well, where are you heading next? Not sure, but no matter where I go, I always try it again by taking a step in the right direction. Thank you, Bigfoot, and careful you don't stub those toes. Thank you.
For this morning's meditation, words from Eleanor Roosevelt. Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home, so close and so small they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere.
Okay, the song I'm going to sing is by a local celebrity named Jim Boyd, who died years ago, but I mean not, I think like 2018, I'm not sure, 2017, 20, something like that. But anyways, I had the privilege of performing with him, and a local artist whose life just made a huge difference in indigenous communities, but just his presence made a difference in Spokane. And it's called A Million Miles Away. When I see your face in the firelight, I wonder how the fire started. Some people might call you pretty, but I'd call you broken-hearted. And I've got a map in my pocket that has your name written in blue. I'll follow you like the river if you just guide me through. Let's rent a car and drive it a million miles away. Let's start a fire and survive it a million miles away. Let's steal the sun and hide it a million miles away. Let's find a storm and ride it a million miles away. When I see you dance in the bar light, I wonder when the song will end. Some people might think you're graceful, but I think you're brittle and bent. And I've got a map in my pocket where every town is named for you. I'll make a stop in all of them, oh, if you just guide me through. Let's rent a car and drive it a million miles away. Let's start a fire and survive it a million miles away. Let's steal the sun and hide it a million miles away. Let's find a storm and ride it a million miles away. When I see you read by the candlelight, I wonder if you hurt your eyes. Some people like happy endings, but I've always liked a surprise. shows where Lucifer fell. Yeah, I'll fall from heaven if you just guide me through hell. Well, let's rent a car and drive it a million miles away. Let's start a fire and survive it a million miles away. Let's steal the sun and hide it a million miles away. Let's find a storm and ride it a million miles away. A million miles away.
Wow. I'm not really big on a priori knowledge, claiming to know something without having experienced it, but without having visited all the churches in the area, I'm quite sure we have the best music of any church in the area. So, thank you. So if I'm going to talk about the love of life, why not start with renewable energy, right? Especially renewable energy, especially from solar and wind, has become the fastest growing and cheapest energy in the world. In their new book, Abundance, Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson explain this trend by summarizing a recent study. They say, in a thrilling paper with a very unthrilling title, Empirically Grounded Technology Forecast and the Energy Transition, a team of researchers found that the price of oil, gas, and coal after adjusting for inflation is about what it was 140 years ago. But renewable energy keeps crushing expectations. The authors looked at 2,905 projections for solar costs made by the most popular forecasting models and found that solar costs were expected to fall by 2.6% a year and never by more than 6%. In reality, they fell by 15% year after year. In 2022, the U.S. Energy Information Administration released a report estimating life cycle cost for new energy installations in the coming decades. Solar was already cheaper than natural gas. Wind was $1 more. Both were about half the price of coal. A world powered by renewable energy is barreling towards us like a solar-powered freight train. And we'll be here before we know it, despite the naysayers and Neanderthals standing on the tracks hoping to stop progress. In The Singularity is Nearer, Ray Kurzweil says, as a result of these ongoing cost reductions, the overall amount of energy obtained from renewable sources, solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, and biofuels, is also growing exponentially. Globally, the cost reductions of solar energy in particular is doubling much faster than any other renewable source, just under every 28 months from 1983 to 2021. Imagine that, doubling. Doing the math, Kurzweil says, from 3.6% in 2021, it would take only about 4.8 doublings to reach 100%, which would put us at 2032 to meet all of our energy needs from solar alone. That's an astonishing statement. especially if you're looking at solar from a U.S. perspective, where it is being resisted by those currently in power with evangelical passion. A 2023 report by the International Energy Agency says, while the increases in renewable capacity in Europe, the United States, and Brazil hit all-time highs, China's acceleration was extraordinary. In 2023, China commissioned as much solar PV as the entire world did in 2022. While its wind additions also grew by 66% year on year, globally, solar PV alone accounted for 3/4 of renewable capacity additions worldwide. Despite all of the U.S.'s fear-mongering about China, the sleeping giant has awakened and has hit the ground running. In addition to having more than 23,000 miles of high-speed rail compared to 0 in the U.S., despite having spent billions to try to lay a little bit, almost 65% of the world's electric cars compared to 1% in the U.S., AI-embodied robots already, and drones that can deliver your lunch or a cup of coffee from out of the sky. China, not the U.S. or any other Western nation, is the world's leader in combating climate change. In fact, if it weren't for China, solar power wouldn't be affordable for anyone anywhere. Despite the U.S. having invented the technology in the 1950s, it is China that's made it an affordable market. As Klein and Thompson explain, in 2000, China had barely enough solar energy to power a small town. By 2020, the nation was making 70% of the world's photovoltaic panels. As China ramped up manufacturing, the cost of solar panels in the last 15 years has declined by almost 90%. That's why I can afford to have them on my roof here in the U.S. Thank you, China. I agree with a line from a John Denver song. Who's to say you have to lose for someone else to win? China is not leaving the U.S. in its dust. The U.S. is leaving itself in China's dust. Just this past week, in his reckless and short-sighted efforts to make America great again, Donald Trump ordered the Environmental Protection Agency to stop regulating greenhouse gas emissions. In other words, to stop doing its job. Trump wants to make the U.S. dependent on coal, oil, and gas again, even as the rest of the world is passing us by, along with all those green energy jobs that other countries, especially China, have access to. Again, according to the IEA report, 30 million clean energy jobs will be gained by the end of this decade, compared to only 5 million lost from the deadly and dying fossil fuel industry. It's a net gain of 25 million jobs. If the U.S. continues down the path of nationalism and isolationism, it is unlikely that it will enjoy any of the benefits of this booming industry. I've begun by discussing renewable energy to such an extent because it is a very real and cogent example of the choice that we are facing today between life and death. Solar, wind, and water are the energies of life, while coal, oil, and gas are destructive energies made from the buried remains of dead animals. In 2017, Noam Chomsky, professor emeritus at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, drew a lot of heat for claiming the Republican Party is the most dangerous organization in human history. Woo! He argued this is so, mostly so because of its refusal to do anything or let anyone else do anything to address global warming, the worst existential threat humanity has ever faced. I agree that's a very outrageous statement, Chomsky told journalist Amy Goodman. So I therefore simply suggest that you take a look at the facts and see if it has any merit, or if I should just be bitterly condemned. Has there ever been an organization in human history that is dedicated with such commitment to the destruction of organized human life on earth? Of course, the grand old party likes to portray itself as the pro-life party because of its concern for unborn people, which, given its otherwise dismal anti-life record, can only be understood as a form of denial and deflection. Just this past week, there was another mass shooting involving a U.S. civilian using a military-style assault weapon. At the same time, NBC reported on a new drone system that uses pepper spray and other non-lethal tools to track down and incapacitate potential school shooters. That's great, I initially thought, but then wondered, why do we have to depend on such technology to begin with? When, like any other country, we could simply ban civilians from owning these unnecessary weapons. We can't, because here in the U.S., our society has mostly chosen death over life. Unabated global warming may be the worst example of this, and the mass shootings the most horrific, but there are many others. The U.S. is the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't provide adequate health care to its citizens, including all those unborn babies before and after their births. During the height of the COVID pandemic, the GOP resisted sheltering at home and wearing masks in public to prevent its deadly spread, and has since worked to cast false doubts on the safety and efficacy of all vaccines, resulting in new outbreaks of diseases we had previously defeated, like polio and measles. In recent months, weeks, and even days, the Republican administration has continued to diminish and end environmental agencies and protections, and has happily discontinued domestic and foreign aid programs to those most in need in the U.S. and around the world. It's also backing away from offering disaster relief from the barrage of constant hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and fires caused by the climate change it still refuses to acknowledge is even happening. Instead of compassionately addressing the growing housing shortage that's putting working Americans out on our streets, the Trump administration's solution is to simply remove them to where we do not know, perhaps to some foreign gulag. Instead of treating immigrants with respect and dignity, everyone who even looks like they might be from a foreign country must now fear for themselves and their families. Only a couple of days ago, perhaps partly in response to South Park recently ridiculing his male prowess, Trump has sent 2 nuclear submarines, talk about phallic symbols, to threaten Russia, rather than working to de-escalate the possibility of the nuclear war he promised would occur if he wasn't elected. And let's add making paper straws illegal just to be mean, and outlawing cultivated meats that would eliminate the suffering of animals to this unsavory list of destructive actions. However else we might define these behaviors, they cannot be considered the actions of a party or a nation that is pro-life, but of a people, organization, society, or what have you that, as Noam Chomsky says, is at the very least among the most dangerous organizations in human history. Remember, climate change didn't have to get this far. We began addressing it in the 70s and it was stopped. And this is not to say that all Republicans, nor all who have voted for Republicans, have this necrophilous orientation. this instinct towards death. To assume I'm saying otherwise, is to commit the informal fallacy of division, confusing qualities attributed to the whole with those of its individual members. That's all I'm going to say about logic today, although my arguments will be logical, I assure you. Nor am I implying that everyone who votes for Democrats in the U.S. have a life-directed biophilous orientation. Some of the most loathsome people I know are Democrats. Necrophilia is rooted in the failure of some individuals to fully emerge from their original narcissism, the experiences of ourselves as being the entire world, which should dissipate if and as we differentiate ourselves from our mothers. If for some reason we cannot let go of that original feeling of oneness, we find a surrogate mother, be it a person, a group, a religion, a nationality, or the like. I've discussed how this is manifesting on the right. On the left, it is manifesting as cancel culture, wokeness, political correctness, or whatever you want to call it. And it is characterized by losing oneself in one's sense of identity or in a reverence for the identity of others. As with one's looks, body, or wealth, defining oneself by one's identity rather than by one's creativity and one's accomplishments, by what one does, especially those accomplishments that make a positive difference in the world, is narcissistic. It becomes malignant narcissism as soon as it ventures into authoritarianism by demanding that everyone else recognize and revere our identity as much as we do, effectively making oneself the whole world again. To require everyone in the world to use language and to see things exactly as we do, or to claim that we have been harmed when we hear things we disagree with, is extremely narcissistic. So if you think I've been too hard on the Republicans, let me state explicitly that this is precisely what I believe has become of many liberal institutions, including segments of the Democratic Party, and has completely overtaken our very religion, Unitarian Universalism, which now attacks the character and livelihoods of anyone who resists or disagrees with it. Just a couple of weeks ago, the UU Association disfellowshipped yet another minister, one who had served for the better part of 3 decades, accusing her of being an abusive bully. Between 1961 and 2020, the UUA, that's many years, right? The UUA had permanently removed only 8 ministers from fellowship. Only 8. 7 for sexual misconduct and 1 for financial malfeasance, justified removals. Since 2020, when I became the first minister disfellowshipped for being a non-cooperative abusive bully, after writing a book of dissenting opinions, they have disfellowshipped 7 others for the same or similar reasons, essentially for saying something that somebody at the UUA disagrees with. That's as many removed in the past 5 years as were removed in decades, over decades. To disregard the freedoms of others in order to sustain one's narcissistic wish to be the whole world is anti-life, and it exists on both the right and the left. This is so of both extremes. That this is so of both extremes, I should say, should not be surprising, given that the choice between necrophilia and biophilia is a common human dilemma, regardless of our politics, our identities, or any other differences. Nor is it a decision that we make once, but every day, every vote, every action. As social psychologist Erich Fromm says, every second is a moment of decision for the better or the worse. Fortunately, he also says that our primary orientation is toward life. Our primary orientation is toward life, not death, which makes sense given that the drive to live is obviously the primary instinct of all living things. Of course that is our primary instinct, to move towards life. So why don't we? Again, it is only when we fail to fully differentiate ourselves from the world and to then fully unfold as individuals that our narcissism leads to necrophilia, characterized by authoritarianism, destruction, and decay, if not death itself. What is true of the individual, as we have seen, becomes true of society if it is widespread enough to put malignant narcissists into power, leading to the sorts of consequences that I've already outlined. In addition to oppressive and destructive behaviors, this orientation is unable to create or to advance. For it is life that is defined by birth and growth, not death. But a necrophilious society doesn't sit still. Unable to progress, it has no choice but to regress. Fromm says if it does not grow, it decays. If it does not transcend the status quo for the better, it changes for the worse. The moment we stand still, we begin to decay. This is evidenced, for example, by the underfunded and outdated public schools across America, as well as its unkept and failing national infrastructures like roadways, highways, and bridges, along with its inability to build advanced infrastructures, like the high-speed rails I mentioned. We cannot make anything great by simply dismantling government, brandishing chainsaws and shouting, "Cut, cut, cut, cut." We must also create. Life that stagnates tends to die. Fromm says, if the stagnation is complete, death has occurred. As necessary as it is to discuss the negative consequences of the death orientation in order to understand what we're up against, I hope you have taken note of 3 very positive points that I've already made. First, that the energy that has always created and sustained life is winning. Despite all the GOP and now Trump are doing to stop the green energy revolution, they are failing and will at most only succeed in putting the U.S. behind the times on its continued path toward insignificance. Sad as a thought that is. 2, the choice between life and death, between biophilia and necrophilia, is always before us. Every second. Meaning just because we've made bad choices in the past doesn't mean we are condemned to repeat them in the future. Once we recognize its qualities, we can choose life. Thirdly, choosing life is our primary instinct, meaning it is the natural choice for us to make. In short, life is winning, and most of us want it to win. What then are the qualities that define this biophilous orientation? To answer this, I'm going to begin with a full paragraph from Fromm's book, The Anatomy of Human Destructiveness. He says, biophilia is the passionate love of life and all that is alive. It is the wish to further growth, whether in a person, a plant, an idea, or a social group. The biophilous person prefers to construct rather than to retain. He wants to be more rather than to have more. He is capable of wondering, and he prefers to see something new rather than to find confirmation of the old. He loves the adventure of living more than he does certainty. He sees the whole rather than only the parts, structures rather than summations. He wants to mold and to influence by love, reason, and example, not by force, by cutting things apart, by the bureaucratic manner of administrating people as if they were things, because he enjoys life in all its manifestations. In this description, we find the very opposite of the authoritarian, destructive, unproductive necrophilous orientation. The love of life promotes freedom, creativity, and progress for the individual and society. Elsewhere, Fromm defines love as the sense of responsibility, care, respect, knowledge of that which we love. Hence, he describes biophilic ethics to mean good is all that serves life. Evil is that which serves death. Good is reverence for life, all that enhances life, growth, unfolding. Evil is all that stifles life, narrows it down, cuts it into pieces. Cut, cut, cut. Today we are seeing the consequences of our necrophilous choices in pronounced, frightening, and destructive ways. But the choice is still before us every second, giving us another opportunity to choose for the better rather than for the worse. So rather than fearing the future by stifling progress and stifling life itself, we have the chance to create a life-affirming future for the whole world. Let's choose a world in which we recycle our swords by turning them into plowshares, our nuclear submarines into vessels that clean our polluted oceans. And let's replace the guns on our streets with enough food, housing, health care, and modern schoolhouses to nourish, nurture, and unlock the full potential of every boy and girl. Instead of investing trillions in the war machine while begrudging what few dollars are spent on any public service, let's happily invest in the well-being of our citizens, no matter who they are or where they are from. Instead of pretending we care for humanity by saving the unborn, let's care for freedom, safety, and well-being of all people, no matter where they are born. Instead of fearing, hating, demonizing, and ruining those we disagree with, let's at the very least live and let live until, by living together peacefully, we come to recognize our common humanity and discover our love for one another. Rather than being left even further behind, let's choose to become real leaders in the world by becoming good partners who are helping to advance clean energy so that we can all begin healing our planet. The slogan, "Choose life," cannot be limited only to those who don't exist yet, or only for those who look, think, and act like us. It is the choice that is always before all of us, every second, to make things better, not worse, for the lives in the world that is already here before us, needing our love. Did I say love? I meant needing our responsibility, our care, our respect, and our knowledge, because that's what the love of life is. Choosing freedom, creativity, and growth by making a positive difference in the lives of other people, other creatures, and the earth itself, the living mother of us all, which is truly the whole world. Thank you.
Okay, if we can sing together Blue Boat Home.
So below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my tried heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heaven and our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves uphold me, hail the great wind surging me on, read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
The thought manifests the word manifests the deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into character. So watch the thought and its ways with care, and let them spring forth with love, born out of compassion for all beings. As the shadow follows the body, as we think, so we become. The Dhammapada. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.